complex project and an ongoing one. And so we bow deeply as the core teachers to each of you for being here with us in beloved community. We bow to your efforts in answering this call for renewal, for healing, a healing that can only happen in beloved community. It's a sacred time across many cultures who are honoring, celebrating the dead, and it's a mark of season change. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, a time for harvest, a composting of so much pain, and also knowing that that pain will also bloom into fruits, into sustenance. So we also look at this time as a time for slowing down. Author Bayo Okomolafe, he's a Nigerian author. His last name is spelled Akomolafe, writes, "The times are urgent. We must slow down." Because inevitably how we respond to the multiple crises that we are facing or react is part of the crises. So what are we renewing in these precarious times? And so that's what we're hoping to connect you with today as core teachers, as the representatives of East Bay Meditation Center and the spiritual inclination that we are co-creating within our own center, and again, across many movements, wisdom traditions that are knowing that the healing that comes in beloved community is what is the world that we're wanting to create. So I ask this question again, what are we renewing in these precarious times? Are we renewing our practice, our commitment to beloved community? A commitment to the communities we all hold inside of each of us and the communities that we're a part of? And as things fall apart, as we open and sometimes with broken hearts, and as we witness the reality of impermanence, what are we building, and what are we cultivating? And so that's our framing for today, this cultivation, not a sort of when we get there and beloved communities, but this cultivation is continuing building in the place of things that are changing and transforming. So with that, I'm going to pass it to my dear colleague and fellow co-teacher, Arisika Razak and Deb Kerr, who will guide us through a land acknowledgement practice and an acknowledgement of ancestors.
Thank you so much, Melvin. Yeah, I'm gonna be honoring the land today as we start our gathering together. I think I'm unmuted, right? Yeah, okay. So we take time to acknowledge the land where we are and the indigenous people who live here. And here are some words about the practice of land acknowledgement from Melvin Escobar and Gregory Mengel. All property is theft. All straight lines on maps are scars of colonialism. The practice of land acknowledgement is about becoming aware of the wounds left on the lands and on our hearts by settler colonialism. It serves as a reminder that the lands we inhabit and the stories contained within them exceed modern notions of ownership. Land acknowledgement can be an opportunity to learn about and honor the living legacies of the places we inhabit, as well as a reminder of our inextricable connection to the earth across species and across time. For Indigenous peoples, the ongoing occupation of their lands by settlers is a continuation of the original violence that was inflicted on their ancestors. This legacy of violence has engendered a collective historical trauma that not only impacts Indigenous communities, but haunts the cultures of settlers who occupy Indigenous lands. As an age-old practice, land acknowledgement can be an opportunity to remember our connection to Earth and to all beings, past and present, living and non-living. Practiced wholeheartedly, this ritual is vital medicine for healing the wounds of history. So I just want to give deep bows to Melvin and Gregory. Melvin, the core teacher you just heard speaking, and Gregory, his partner, are integral parts of EBMC and are doing work with Armand Volkas and his Healing the Wounds of History project. So we acknowledge that we are on the traditional unceded land of the first people of Oakland, the Lisan Ohlone people, past and present. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the Lisan Ohlone tribe, who speak the Chochenyo language. Here are the words of the Lisan Ohlone people. Since the beginning of time, for thousands of years, hundreds of generations, the Lisan Ohlone people have lived on the land that is now known as the East Bay. We did not own the land, we belonged to it. Generation after generation, we cultivated reciprocal relationships with the plants and animals we shared this place with, and developed beautiful and powerful cultural practices that kept us in balance. We have survived over 2 centuries of genocide and colonization during the Spanish, Mexican, and American eras. Today, we continue to inhabit our ancestral homeland, fight for our sacred sites, and revitalize our cultural practices. This is from the Sogorea Te Land Trust Project, and I will post a link to that after I'm done speaking. As a 4th generation Oakland resident, I feel very connected to this land. When my ancestors came from Europe in the late 1800s, they took up residence in Oakland and benefited from colonialist oppression already well underway. I know that in this wonderfully diverse room today are people whose ancestors connect to every part of the earth. An essential step in building beloved community is remembering that each of us belongs to the earth, to the land of our ancestors, and to the land where we live. That belonging comes with responsibility to understand the history of the land, especially around the violent and continuing oppression of the original peoples of this place, and then to take action to heal the wounds of history. So now I invite you to put your hands together. Today we honor this beautiful part of the earth where we live, the interconnected web of all the beings who dwell here, and especially the Lisan Ohlone people. Thank Thank you. And now I pass the microphone to Arisika.
Good morning, kinfolk. Be welcome. I invite you to just notice the part of the body that is closest to the earth. Your sits bones on the chair or cushion, your feet on the ground. Wherever you are a child of this planet, a child of the water planet. In this moment, I invite you to feel the 4 or 5 elements that move within you. They too are your ancestors. Let's acknowledge with gratitude the stardust that is in the metal of your blood. Let's acknowledge the earth, the bones, your long bones and your flesh, which is of this earth. Let's acknowledge the fires at the molten core of the earth, the fires in the lava that even now erupts, the fires of the crematoria, the fires burning somewhere in forest in a great cycle of renewal that is beyond our ken to understand. And finally, the fires that wink, nerve ending to nerve ending, that acknowledge or potentially acknowledge our ability to move, to receive speech, our ability to take in our universe. Earth, water, air. Air is the first nourishment that you took when you emerged out of your birth giver's body. Take a breath in and feel the sweetness of the air, even if it is difficulty for you to breathe. Without air, we cannot live. Let us honor the elements and honor the element of space within us. Space that is at the center of black holes, space that dances between the atoms and molecules of our body. We are here, children of earth, air, fire, and water, and all these elements went into making the bodies of our ancestors, our four-legged ancestors, our winged ancestors, those who swim, those who fly, those who run on 2 or 4 legs. We are kin. We are all kin in an interdependent web of life. And in this moment, let's call in the ancestors who loved us, who blazed a trail of hope and healing and resilience and renewal. Let's give thanks to our ancestors on whose shoulders we stand and on whose backs we lean. I am because we are. I am because we are. And let's release into the healing grace all those ancestors who were constrained by ignorance, delusion, grasping, and craving. May they find their own renewal on the other side of the veil. And we call in those who love us, those who guide us, those who want to see us walk into a future in which all are valued, all are seen, all are loved. Ashe, Aho, Emlakesh, a woman, amen, Homitakwiyase, so mote it be. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
I believe I pass it on to
Yeah.
Melvin. Is that right?
Thank you, Rishika. Yes, I'm feeling moved to call in invoke the refuges. So in Buddhism, when we open ceremony, as we're doing here, we offer the refuges. So there are 3 refuges, sometimes called the 3 gems or the 3 jewels. And they are taking refuge in the Buddha and in the Dharma and the Sangha. So Sangha is the spiritual community, Sangha. That's traditionally the 3rd refuge. The 2nd is the Dharma or the teachings, Dharma. And the 1st is the Buddha, and how I interpret it as the possibility of awakened. The word Buddha means awakened one, so that we have the capacity to awaken in every moment in this lifetime, drop by drop. Enlightenment or complete understanding that that's possible. So I'm going to chant them in Pali, and that's the language that the Buddha's words were transcribed in. And I'll share a screen. And so if you would like to chant along, or if the words in Pali are not accessible, the invitation is to, as I was taught these refuges by one of the co-founders of East Bay Meditation Center, Larry Yang, he let us know, and at this exact moment, there's someone practicing taking refuge. We're using Buddhist words here, but throughout time and space and in different languages, trusting at this exact moment that someone is taking these refuges. And so that's the invitation as I share these refuges. So if you'd like to bring hands together, palms connected, and chant into Pali. It'll be chanted 3 times. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Again, Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. 3rd time. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Thank you. So here at East Bay Meditation Center, we are taking refuge in core elements, pillars, sometimes we call them. And as I mentioned in the intro, that things are coming apart. And what are we building in its place? And the good news is that we have these core elements, specifically the first one here of Buddhism and mindfulness training programs. And these time-tested Buddhist teachings and other wisdom traditional teachings that we can connect to thanks to our second core element of gift economics, of not putting a price tag on these age-old teachings. And gift economics within itself is an age-old practice, timelessly powerful, and a strong and viable alternative to racial capitalism. The third, radical inclusivity, a practice that provides the opportunity to embody the inherent worth and dignity of each of our lives in order to reaffirm a sense of belonging and interbeing. And I speak for all the core teachers here that we are here to remind you that you have inherent worth and dignity, that you belong, that we bow to each of you and all the efforts you're putting, the effort it took to come here, and all the sacred efforts that sustain and renew your life. The fourth, shared leadership, a practice in which, quote, everything moves at the speed of trust, as Mervyn Marcano of Blackbird Consulting says, so everything moving at the speed of trust. And connecting to the leadership potential in each of us, creating leaderful movements. And the last is social justice and healing, remembering that personal and collective healing and transformation. So personal and collective healing and transformation are deeply interconnected and necessary to create beloved community, to create a more just and equitable world. So with that, and I'm gonna pass the mic to Umana, who will continue us as we deepen into the ceremonial container.
Good morning, beloved community. Thank you all who brought this beautiful and profound opening to this gathering. Such a beautiful honoring of the land and calling in the ancestors. I want to invite us all to simply settle in and allow all that's been said to be absorbed. As I was listening to the opening this morning, I just wanted to close my eyes and feel into the energy that is being brought forth in the room. And I want to invite us all to arrive, to center ourselves. We're here to really address the precarity of our times. And part of that precarity has arisen from our disconnection from the earth. So I invite you at this time to resource the body to come into a posture that is uniquely suited to your own body for comfort and ease. And to feel yourself resting on the earth. To sense into and feel your connection to this earth body of which we are all a part. The body that has loaned us our bodies for a short time with the gift of life. If your feet are on the ground, plant the soles of your feet firmly. Feel the connection, the pressure, the sensation. the exchange of earth energy and all of the elements that pass between you and the earth. Perhaps you're laying down. Whatever parts of the body are touch points of the earth, bring your awareness there now. The invitation may be to slide the eyes closed. I want to acknowledge those who may rely on the ASL interpretation. In that case, simply allow yourself to settle into whatever way resources your body to be able to migrate your attention as much as possible into your inner terrain. So much time is spent in the outer world. And this is an opportunity to bring our awareness into the core of our being. Connect with the breath exactly as it is, if that's available to you, without doing anything to alter its rhythm and pace. Or perhaps simply the rise and fall of the abdomen or chest. And if that's not available to you, perhaps simply the parts of your body that touch the earth, or how your hands are resting on a surface. Bring your awareness into the abdomen, this place of intelligence, the center of your being, and release any tension or holding or restriction that you may find there as you allow the navel to flow into the center of the room on the inhale. And simply pay attention to how it contracts back towards the spine on the exhale. To the extent that it is comfortable for your body, allow the spine to grow long, creating a clear channel between earth and sky from the tailbone through the crown of the head. Allow the back of the neck to be long and an extension of the spine. Notice if there's any more spaciousness in the torso as we continue to cultivate awareness of the body, which allows us to be present in this moment. Notice the hands. Perhaps lift them up from the wrist and allow the finger joints to hang loosely as you glide them back towards their surface. Allow the breath to flow into the face and the jaw, perhaps parting the lips slightly to release any constriction there. The tongue is settled in the mouth. The eyes are nestled in their sockets. The skin of the face and the forehead, the scalp, the flesh of the whole body rest on the architecture of your frame, softly. Awareness of the body is the first door to awakening. When we're with the body, we are settled in the present moment. The only place that the body resides. Spend time here. As we calm the body, we allow the mind to rest. This is a resource that's always available to us. One that we can carry into our world moment by moment. One that keeps us grounded in the present. Impervious to the worldly winds. Allow yourself to spend time here with yourself. Offering kind attention to your being. Taking in all that has been shared today, in this morning. Let your presence resource you. And should sounds arise, simply notice without judgment or irritation. This is how we prepare to take up the object of our meditation by connecting with the body, calming the body, inviting the mind to follow that calmness. And when we feel fully resourced in a state of relaxation, kindness, and self-care, this is the time to take up your anchor, whatever it may be. Breath, sounds, contact, presence. Settling in, I invite Musham to come forward with words for today.
So hello, Sangha. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your commitment to resilience, to refuge, and I hope that you're finding moments of joy and ease and fun and laughter during these times. So I am so inspired by the chanting, and I'm told by Candy that the closed captioning cannot deal with it at all. So I'm sorry, closed captioning. So this is another way of chanting the 3 refuges. We go for safety, for refuge, for resilience, for strength, to the Buddhas, awakened beings and teachers in all of our traditions and all of our cultures, all of our backgrounds. And in my tradition, Buddhism, to Shakyamuni Buddha, who was a historical teacher. However, many Buddhas. We also go for safety and refuge, if we would like to do so, to Dharma, teachings of wisdom and compassion from all traditions, from your tradition, from you. You have the Dharma in you right now. We go for safety to the refuge of Sangha, spiritual community. Don't forget your community with all beings, with flowers and herbs and dogs that you see people walking, and yourself. You have Sangha within you, and you're never alone with that. So this is how I come from, originally from the Korean Zen Buddhist tradition. And this is how my teacher, as I recall, chanted the three refuges, because our practices are embodied. So when we chant, when we sing and dance and move and cook and shower and bathe, we can rejoice. We can rejoice in the pleasure of body sensations. And when the body sensations are kind of painful or uncomfortable, when anxiety so understandably arises, yes, let's try to be with that. We are embodied beings. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. So that gives us a slightly different flavor. And there's such diversity within all of our spiritual traditions. And in just a couple of minutes that are left to me, I will share I've just shared that with you. Chanting, big part of my original training. I am a former monastic, and I come from a tradition in which people will chant for days on end. It's a magnificent tradition, and you can make up your own chant. Children do all the time. See what makes you feel safe. See what makes you feel resourced. See what brightens up your spirits. And so I'll just mention that we do have strength in our ancestors, I hope. And as Arisaka was grounding us, I was remembering I'm third generation Japanese American. My mom grew up on Oahu, Hawaii, during World War II. And so at night they would have blackouts. They'd have to black out all the light that might come from their window, because they were afraid of being bombed by attacking airplanes, ironically from Japan. And when I talked to my mom about that, I said, "Oh, was that scary?" And she said, "No," she said, because grandma, her mother, she said grandma made such good snacks for the entire family. So we love to eat. So my grandma is Obachan Haruko Sawada. I want to just thank you, Grandma. And I've carried on that tradition. I make pretty good snacks myself. So eat delicious, yummy, hopefully healthy, kind of healthy snacks that can help to resource us and remind us of our connection to our ancestors. And then I'll also mention that just briefly, it's the end of my time, but I'll just say one more thing that Candy will put thank you, Candy, into the chat. A link to a Tibetan prayer for peace and stability in the world, given to me by my Dharma sibling, Therese LaHaye. And I have been doing this prayer every day. And her teacher asked that his Dharma students recite this prayer 6 times a day I don't do it 6 times a day. I do it often. And this was a prayer for peace and stability in the world by Jamgon Kongtrul Lodro Thay. Sorry for mispronunciation. And I did give that to our wonderful ASL interpreter, Lauren. And the link is in the chat, I hope. And so this prayer, this Tibetan scholar and writer lived from 1813 to 1899 in Tibet. So we are saying, I've heard so many people say, I myself have said, we live in unprecedented times. We do not. This prayer for peace and stability in the world, written by our Tibetan spiritual friend who died in 1899, it says this. It calls upon the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, etc., and that it talks about disturbances in the elements, both inner and outer. It says it means that disease and pestilence, unknown in ages past, threaten human beings and animals alike. It talks about blight, frost, and hail, poor harvests, war, and conflict, untimely rains, and ominous portents for the world. So get this. And there is fear of earthquakes, fire, adversaries, and environmental catastrophe. So there we have it. Friends, we have gone through this before, and we shall go through it again with all of our strengths, with our joy, with our resilience. There will be losses, and through loving and supporting one another, don't forget to go small. Make those snacks. Nothing is too small. Through supporting one another in Sangha, we shall prevail. May all beings awaken. Thank you. And I will now pass it on to either Melvin or Carol.
I believe it's Melvin.
Okay, Carol. Okay. Thank you, Mushamia, for reminding us of joy and the reality, because so much internalized oppression is the lie that we are not holy, that we are not wise, that this wisdom isn't connected, that we're not connected to it in every moment. And the word mindfulness in Pali, in the Buddhist language, is sati, which means remembering. And yet, precarious, we use this word in the title for today. The etymology of that is prayer, prec in Latin, which means prayer. And of course, as Musha mentioned, anxieties are a normal response to all the change that's happening. Yet, what are we praying for? In a sense, every thought is a prayer. And yeah, thanks, Musham. Yeah, Musham and I can go for hours talking about our favorite foods. And but yes, it's I'm from El Salvador, and we call it Dia de los Difuntos, like, and commonly here in California and the US, and now thanks to Coco, the movie, Dia de los Muertos, and honoring our muertitos, are the people that have passed through, offering this blessing of food that we that connects us, and it's such a joyful practice, and can be. Yeah, we also and so it's a way, as Mushin was saying, just simple ways we can connect to what gives us life. So I and my grandmother taught me how to pray. This is the last point I'll make. And from El Salvador, we were colonized by the Spanish, and the Catholicism and Christianity came, and yet we still found ways to touch the deepest. She taught me how to pray, and every day as she sat reading her Bible. And I think of how much strength and resilience. We talk a lot about intergenerational trauma, but we can't forget the intergenerational strength and resilience that is, as Arisika talked about, the stardust in our blood. Yeah, and so I just in this moment sensing that and being thankful for that. So Carol, I'm gonna pass it on to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. So beautiful. It's been such a privilege this morning to be here with all of you. And I feel like I myself are on the wings of being taken by the Dharma of this moment, and deep healing arising within myself was such a beautiful opening. I asked myself, like, so how has this practice helped me integrate teachings of the Buddha Dharma, as well as I braid indigenous wisdom in my practice, which is the deep connection to the earth, which is what we've been speaking of throughout. In actuality, both traditions hold a deep acknowledgement of the earth practices. And in that invitation, I think to myself, what is the most profound and yet radical stance I can take at this time with so much sorrow and so much anxiety? And I feel that, and it is a practice, hence why the word practice we use a lot in the practice of the Buddha Dharma, is because it's self-care is something of just meeting oneself where we're at, especially in regards to the wellness of my mind. The mind, as I always tell those when I teach, is very quite entertaining and loves a good story, loves time traveling to the past and the present, loves a good story, it just can go on. And how I've been practicing, just noticing my own angst or expectations or predictions of what could happen if fear arises. How do I meet those moments with a mind that's steady, a mind that's calm, a mind that I can actually start to investigate the question if it's really true, and allowing the deep healing to come in from that as fear arises. Am I really in fear, or is this self-manufacturing fear from the state of my mind? And I've been teaching this last week in a metta retreat. In the tradition of Theravada, we use the Buddha's taught metta. There's different translations of metta. Love and kindness is most commonly used, but I myself love the development of the goodwill and befriending, the friendliness, befriending oneself, kindness. For many of us, I had to take the love out and just work with kindness. Can I cultivate kindness towards myself? I understand that because I can extend kindness to another or to a child or to a four-legged ally. But can I turn that towards myself in a moment of feeling anger, rage? Can I befriend the moment in such a way that I can see what is really happening so that I can care for myself in such a way that it provides me resource and space so that I may be able to drop in and I may be able to just deeply heal the conditionings of my own mind. And if they are mine to begin with, this mind of mine, minding itself, is it mine? Or have I inherited from my family some conditionings or a stern teacher when I grew up who had an idea of what peoples I come from, the history that was taught to me that was not true, that arisen shame for many years? How do I meet myself to know that those conditionings are not mine, so that I may purify myself from those conditionings, let alone the intergenerational conditionings of my own ancestors, and as a mixed race person, the oppressor and the oppressed living within me? How do I make peace within myself, knowing the two opposing traditions, the two opposing ancestries that lie within me need deep healing and unify me in such a way that I myself can find my way back home? So I'll end with, the full moon, harvest moon, is an auspicious time in many cultures that just passed yesterday at 7 in the morning here in the West Coast. And it's also the blue moon. So the elements are the unseen. And in this practice, we connect with the unseen to unfold parts of ourselves and to be able to let go of those parts of ourselves that no longer serve us, so that we may come into ourselves and connect and remember, as what's being told here. Remembering that we can be resilient, resourceful, and restorative to self-preserve. Because 7 generations ago, one aspect of my ancestry was praying for the survival of my people. And we are still here and still strong, and yet still fighting for our lands and resources. So as we come in, unifying parts of yourselves that may be opposing, and find the equanimous aspects of who you are to rise above the ashes of this really chaotic world. The world is on fire. My dear friends, aren't you? Much love.
Just notice letting it out. As you breathe in, imagine that the air around you is filled with fine golden light. In this light are your guides, your guardian angels, the spirits of your ancestors, and all those in your lineage, chosen or born to, who love you. Breathe in love, wisdom, understanding. Breathe out anything that is not in harmony with your highest self. Breathe in love, wisdom, understanding, and release as much as you can of anything that does not serve. Breathe into the heart. Breathe into the belly, or feel the breath as it enters these places. If it is accessible, place one hand or two over the navel. This is the site of your umbilical cord. And whether you were carried in love or grief, whether you were wanted or unwanted, whether you were hoped for, dreamt about, or given away. You were carried in the body of your birth giver. And in this moment, let us give thanks to the various lineages that flow through you, that grew in the body, in the womb of the one who carried you. Also, as you feel this place where your navel is or was, know that there is a metaphysical navel, a grounding cord that carries you up to the stars, up to the great void, the birthplace of all Buddhas. There is a connection to your spirit guides, to the great divine mother, the great divine father, the great divine third gender, non-gendered, all gendered being. And this being, source, presence, spirit of humanity, will always love you, has walked or rolled, carried and embraced, has been with you in your sleeping and your waking, and has carried and sheltered all of our peoples as they walked to the Trail of Tears, as they walked to the slave dungeons, as they fled in the pogroms, the burning times of Europe. This spiritual presence has been with all our peoples as they fled war, devastation, earthquakes, famine, drought. The spirit of the great all-being, the spirit of your higher selves, the spirit of humanity has stood with you at the crossroads, at the precipice, and feel for a moment your small self rocked in the arms of your Buddha nature, rocked in the arms of the great mother, the great father, the great all-gendered, non-gendered, the most high, the most deep, the most low. Feel their love for you. Feel their embrace wrapping you in these perilous times, in these challenging and difficult times. You are loved. You are worthy. You are seen. You are loved. You are worthy. You are seen. And know that from the embrace of all that is, was, and shall be, you took birth in a human body, in a body that is the gift of your ancestors. Let us in this moment imagine that we are falling into a body, the body we have today, and that we are following our umbilical cord, our physical umbilical cord, and that we're going back and back and back and back and back in time. We are coming to a time before hierarchy, and we all have multiple lineages, but all of our lineages come out of peoples who loved this earth, who made prayers and dances and rituals to commune with the spirits of place, the spirits of the animals, the spirits of the elements. We are going back and back and back in time to a time that we were loved and seen, a time when our disabilities marked us as people called to holiness, a time when our ability to dream and vision was seen as sustaining the tribe, a time when women were revered, when the sacred masculine, the sacred feminine, the sacred all-gendered, non-gendered being were esteemed. people knew that these times would come. They knew that it would be hard. They have a gift for you. They have a word of encouragement. They have a object that they wish to hand you. They have a song, a mantra, a sound. Open your hands. Sitting in this circle of your long ago people, receive the gift. Receive the medicine that they are giving you in this time. And make a gesture of acknowledgement or gratitude. Now you are moving away from this place. You are moving into hard times. You are moving into a time that your ancestors knew. When we were fleeing war and oppression, when we were driven away from our homeland, when we carried our babies in our arms, our elders on our backs, we were fleeing genocide and war and oppression. And you are walking with an ancestor. Spirit is walking or rolling or running or dreaming with this ancestor. You carry medicine from a long ago time. You carry medicine from a long ago time. You are a voice whispering in the ear of your ancestor. You are a voice breathing into the heart of your ancestor. We have been here before. You carry a seed of resilience. Open your hands. Let this ancestor who has received from you and who has received from spirit your gift, let them whisper a word to you of what that is helping them to stay alive, what is helping them to teach and love in this time of slavery, what is helping them in this time. Take it in to the medicine pouch of your heart. Take it in to the medicine pouch of your mind. Take it in to the medicine pouch of your body. Feel the strength of the earth running through you. Feel the power of love animating your body. Come, let us move. We are following our umbilical cord, the cord that is from spirit, the cord that is from earth, the cord that is from our own heritage. We are coming back to this time when once again we stand at the edge of a precipice. We stand climate change. We stand or sit or rest or lie in the presence of oppression. We stand or sit or rest or lie in the midst of a pandemic. We are holy people. We are spirit beings. We have been here before, and the ancestors are with us. Spirit is with us. Spirit as we know and name it. He, she, it, they, them. We are here, kinfolk. What are you taking into the future? What are you taking to teach the people? What are you taking to heal your body? What, on whose shoulders do you stand? On whose back do you rest? Touch your heart. Touch the middle of the forehead where your third eye is. Touch the belly, the dantian, 3 fingers below the navel. Take a breath in and let it out. Feel the body. Feel the breath. Feel your spirit. You are here. What are you taking to sustain you? What have you given to the past? begin to wriggle your toes and fingers. Let us come back to this room. See the beautiful beings that are with us. See the Sangha that holds us all. We're going to be going, some of us, into breakout rooms to share this harvest. Some of us may remain in the main room. I'm going to give over to my sister Amana for the instructions for moving forward.
Thank you, Arisika. Let's just take this moment to really feel into the journey that Arisika has taken us on, that ancestral journey. So powerful, so rich, so deep, so full of wisdom. We have an opportunity right now to gather in small groups that you can also opt out by not joining the group and simply staying in the waiting room if you choose to. However, I really want to invite you to participate fully and know that your participation is an act of generosity, is a contribution to the space that we're creating, and that your voice, your presence is of the utmost value. This is an opportunity for us to reach down into what we can let go of and what we can absorb that will resource us. So in a moment, we're gonna break out into small groups. Candy, I'm gonna let you decide the size of the group based on how many people are here, 3 or 4 people, and the timing. It would be lovely if we could have 3 minutes a piece. And the questions that I invite you to reflect upon are: what reactions, in the beginning, Melvin talked about reactions and responses. Reactions are knee-jerk, habitual actions. What reactions to the current circumstances and or conditions, what reactions can you let go of that do not contribute to your well-being? And the second part is, what skillful responses have you inherited from those who have come before you, that have been passed down to you, that you have into the cellular structure of your body, your innate intuition and creativity that is a part of your heritage? What skillful responses have you inherited that contribute to your inner resources? Candy, I can't see, are you able to put those questions in the chat?
Yes, I will add them to the chat. I'm just setting up the breakout rooms at the moment.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So what reactions to the current circumstances and or conditions can you let go of that don't resource you? that don't contribute to your well-being? What can you let go of? What are they? Can you identify them? And what skillful responses do you have in your body right now that contribute to your inner resources? And Candy will break us out. And Candy, you were going to also offer a format for ASL
Yes.
group. Yeah.
Thank you. If anyone needs the support of an ASL interpreter, please let me know so I can make sure to assign you to a breakout room that has the ASL interpreter with you. You can private message me if you'd like.
I'm still with that deep journey that Arisika guided us on. There's so much that we have inherited. The truth is that for many of us, we should not even be here, given the circumstances that our ancestors, our lineage have lived through. The fact that we are here today is proof that there's something inside us that we carry from our heritage that allows us to be with resilience and brilliance and creativity to respond to the circumstances of our lives right now. We were made for these times. So Candy, when you're ready,
Yeah, I'm